Rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL Draft take shape tonight inside AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. But prior to that, congratulations are in order for Minkah Fitzpatrick, Calvin Ridley, Rashaan Evans, and Daron Payne, as all four individuals from the University of Alabama were selected in the first round. And with that being said, we are back from the break here on In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Stephen M. Smith. In the first segment, we got a chance to discuss the next move for Jalen Hurts, or what might be the next move for Jalen Hurts in terms of, if he stays at Alabama, does he grab quarterback coach Dan Enos and a couple of receivers and really work on throwing mechanics, accuracy, precision, timing, trusting the guys around him if he wants to continue being the starting quarterback? Or number two, does he become okay with playing second fiddle, being the backup to Tua Tagovailoa? Or if push comes to shove, would he transfer out the program? So first segment being geared toward Jalen Hurts, but this one, the second edition of the Ask Steven segment, I'm back inside the mailbag, taking on your questions. Questions from the smart Alabama fan. Questions from you guys, the ones that crave the content, the ones that enjoy watching, dissecting, looking at this team on Saturdays in the fall. I'm taking on your questions, your concerns right now via social media, the Twitter sphere. And to start this thing off, we got a question coming from the Legend at Legends Island on Twitter. And Legend throws out here, who will be the starters at both cornerback positions on defense in the fall? I tackled this question in the first Ask Steven segment we had, and the two guys I mentioned, Saivion Smith and Trevon Diggs, I think those two will be your starters at corner upon the start of the 2018 season. Saivion Smith at right corner, Trevon Diggs at left corner. Both guys physical guys. Trevon Diggs at 6'2", Saivion Smith at 6'1", both right there at that 200-pound threshold, that 200-pound benchmark there. They're physical, they're athletic, they can press, they can jam, they can frustrate, they can reroute receivers. I understand they may not have the experience that an Anthony Averett or a Levi Wallace had from this past season, but as far as athleticism, as far as ceiling and big playability, I feel like both guys, Diggs and Saivion Smith, are big, critical, big time, big play factors for the Crimson Tide. Trevon Diggs, his second year as a full-on defensive back, third-year player. Nick Saban has talked and helped him and kind of prepared him a lot on how to read the ball. Read the man, most importantly. Read the man, read the ball. Don't focus so much on the quarterback, but read your man, play the football, be sound, be fundamental, have that technique. During the A-Day game, put up 9 tackles, did have an interception, picking off Jalen Hurts there in the second half. I go back to last year in fall camp. This was the guy that was rising, Trevon Diggs, emerging, playing well, lost some of that zeal during the Florida State game after he won the job in fall camp, came against Florida State, had a couple of busted coverages, a few missed assignments. Levi Wallace came in, locked down the left side of that field, and the rest is history. But it's another opportunity for Trevon Diggs to come back, improve, be the guy, and throughout spring ball, did an outstanding job. For Saivion Smith, 2016 was a 5-star playing at Louisiana State University in the Southeastern Conference, took the JUCO route to Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, back on the scene at Alabama. A lot of people raving about him. I understand Patrick Surtain Jr., somebody of whom a lot of people are comparing to Minkah Fitzpatrick, where his work ethic and skill sets are concerned. Josh Jobe, Jalen Armour-Davis, 3 talented freshmen coming in the summer. But legend, when I look at this Alabama team, Saivion Smith, Trevon Diggs, if I had to name them right now, the 2 corners, Saivion Smith, Trevon Diggs, the 2 guys I have starting in the fall. But that comes from Legend at Legends Island on Twitter on the starters at the cornerback position. Number 2, we go down to my man Greg on Twitter at Greg_4949. And Greg has some thoughts and concerns about the offensive line. Me personally, I think this is the most talented, diverse, versatile offensive line at Alabama under Nick Saban since the 2012 group that had Barrett Jones, Chance Warmack, DJ Fluker, William Vallejos, Anthony Steen, those guys. I think this is the most talented offensive line since that time when you look at Ross Pierschbaker, Jonah Williams, Lester Cotton, Josh Casher, Jedrick Wills, Alex Leatherwood. There are so many moving parts. There's so many different pieces on this offensive line. And for Coach Brent Key, who's entering his 3rd year at the group, this is going to be the best unit he's ever had. Now, I understand the A-Day game, they got pushed around a bit, and you're going to get pushed around when you're facing guys like Raekwon Davis. I mean, come on. This is a 6'8", 306-pound Sequoia out of Mississippi. Big dude that's expected to have a first-round NFL draft stock. And then you got Isaiah Buggs behind him, Quinnen Williams behind him. You got guys like Anthony Jennings, Christian Miller, Terrell Lewis, Jamie Mosley, Chris Allen, LeBrian Ray, Fadarian Mathis, Johnny Dwight. I mean, the list goes on. To have a defensive front the way Alabama has, it would be difficult on any offensive line, to combat that. But when I look at this offensive line, Greg, this is a very talented group. I feel like once everybody gets on campus this summer and Brent Key has the core guys he wants to work with, he's got the best 5 guys he wants to put on the field. Now, if this was me, if I was Nick Saban, and if I was offensive line coach Brent Key, I would have it Jonah Williams left tackle, Lester Cotton left guard, Ross Pierschbaker center, right guard Jedrick Wills, right tackle Alex Leatherwood. That's how I would have it. And I would have guys like Matt Womack and Josh Casher and Brandon Kennedy and those guys fill in, plug and play at need be. But if I was on the offensive line, if I was the coach, I would have Jonah Williams left tackle, Lester Cotton left guard, Ross Pierschbaker center, right guard Jedrick Wills, right tackle Alex Leatherwood. That would be a dominant offensive line. Now, the right side of that offensive line would become the power side, but that's what I would have. But I'm not the least bit concerned about this offensive line. I think this is going to be a very talented group. Just get everybody together in the summer, go throughout the summer workouts, the fall camp, put the best 5 guys on the field, and let that continuity grow. Moving now to question number 3. And concern number 3 comes from Bama at Amazing Rico. This is Bama at Amazing Rico on Twitter. And the question is, will Bama be tested enough during the regular season to be ready for the Southeastern Conference Championship game and the college football playoff? That's a good question. Because Bama's schedule this season, it sets up pretty simple. I mean, I know Louisiana Lafayette is on schedule. Alabama would also have to play Arkansas State and the Citadel along with Louisville to start the season. Louisville won't have Lamar Jackson next year, seeing how he was selected in the first round of the NFL draft to the Baltimore Ravens. But when you look at the Southeastern Conference slate for Alabama, that's where the trickiness kind of comes into play, right? I mean, you have to play Texas A&M, which if Jimbo Fisher can get the quarterback he wants to get, between Kellen Mond and Nick Starkel, that could be interesting there. You look at Arkansas, who always tends to play Alabama tough. You got to go to Fayetteville, DWR Razorback Stadium, the Hogs' brand new head coach, and bringing in Chad Morris out of SMU down in Texas. How will his scheme fit? What will he find on offense? How will the pieces stack up for him? You look at playing Tennessee in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, which the rivalry will become interesting again because you have Jeremy Pruitt as the coach of Tennessee versus the intern on Alabama staff, Butch Jones. That'll be fun. Will Tennessee have its quarterback situation figured out with Jarrett Guarantano and some of the other guys in the mix? Will the Vols have its defense figured out? LSU, with no more Matt Canada, is Ed Orgeron going to finally give the offense to a coordinator that he will not have to meddle in the pot in? Just let the coordinator call the offense. Ole Miss, we understand they're on, bowl ban, NCAA sanctions, but with Matt Lukin, head coach, and Phil Longo at offensive coordinator, there's a lot of upside at Ole Miss. Jordan Ta'amu played pretty well at quarterback last year. Then you bring in a 4-star in Matt Corral. You got receivers in DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown and DeMarcus Lodge. Defensively, could you find replacements for Breland Speaks, DeMarcus Gates, and Marquise Haynes? I mean, these are all questions. I mean, I haven't even gotten to Mississippi State where, everything hinges on the health of Nick Fitzgerald, who had the horrendous injury in the Egg Bowl last year. If Nick Fitzgerald's healthy, then yeah, Mississippi State definitely challenges Alabama. It definitely tests them. You saw what happened last year when Alabama's defense was dinged up, banged up, where, Aris Williams and Nick Fitzgerald were having a field day. They only lost 31-24, so a healthy Nick Fitzgerald, that brings a test to Alabama. And of course, you always know what, Auburn's going to do, but even prior to Auburn, you have Missouri on the schedule here, and Drew Lock coming back is probably one of the more experienced quarterbacks in this conference. Got a big-time arm, another year under Barry Odom as your head coach, getting that offense even more fine-tuned. So, for me, I feel like Alabama could have a challenging conference schedule if everybody else plays strong, if that makes any sense. Because non-conference, Louisville is going to be tough for Louisville without Lamar Jackson. This is your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and you're losing him to the NFL. So, at Amazing Rico Bama on Twitter here, it's going to be difficult non-conference for Bama to be really tested because without Lamar Jackson, Louisville's going to struggle a bit. You got Arkansas State, which, come on, it's Arkansas State. You've got Louisiana Lafayette. Yes, it's got a former Alabama staffer as its head coach, that being Billy Napier, former Alabama wide receivers coach as the head coach, but still, Louisiana Lafayette. The Raging Cajuns against the Tide. That's not going to be much of a challenge there for real. And then you got the Citadel, which, small military school out of South Carolina. Come on. If you think a challenge is going to happen there, you're completely delusional. So, you look at the conference schedule, I think that's where the test could come in for Alabama, simply on will Texas A&M, LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Tennessee, Missouri, will all of these teams be strong and play strong prior to facing Alabama, in the game against Alabama, but also after Alabama? Keep in mind, what kind of hurt Bama at times last year is the teams that they beat continue to lose. When a team plays Alabama and when you lose to Alabama or if you beat Alabama, it's how you respond after that game, right? Do you continue to win? Do you continue to play well, play sound, play fundamental, and still win ball games? Because that's what dictates how strong the schedule is, how the team that you played fares after they play you. If you beat this team to the ground, that very next week, do they get off the mat and beat the next team to the ground? That's what entails that strength of schedule. So if the conference schedule, the conference slate that Alabama has is strong in the upcoming season, then Alabama will be tested. That's basically my answer to the question there from Bama on Twitter, and that handle @AmazingRico. We continue this with another question here from ABH on Twitter at ABH_68. And the question is, I would like to hear your views on the kickers, especially punting. Very impressed by Joseph Bulovas and Skylar DeLong on A-Day. Joseph Bulovas, redshirt freshman kicker. Skylar DeLong, true freshman punter. Bulovas, the young man out of Louisiana, former 3-star, nation's top-rated kicker according to Rivals.com. Upon him enrolling in 2017, was 5 for 7 on field goals during the spring game. Made a 49-yarder, made a 48-yarder, looked in sync, crowds cheering for him, really did a good job. I mean, even the 2 kicks that he missed by the amount of a few inches, just 1 or 2 inches. And that's because the wind probably got into it at the last minute, but overall, the guy's got a strong leg. He's 6 feet, 6'1", 210 pounds. Big dude for a kicker. And he kind of brings back that old throwback Alabama mindset from kickers like Lee Tiffin, Jeremy Shelley, Jamie Christensen, Philip Doyle, Peter Kim, Van Tiffin. He's got that old school vibe to him. You know, the old school vibe that Alabama kickers had where you knew these 3 points are gonna be automatic. That's the type of vibe that Joseph Bulovas is rocking with. I mean, not to say that Adam Griffith and Andy Papanastis were overwhelmingly terrible, but both of them had some cringe moments. They had moments where you just looked and went, are you kidding me? This is from 26 yards and you can't make it? Are you kidding me? This is from 30 yards in a dome stadium from the middle of the field and you can't make this? Really? They both had those types of moments. I look at Joseph Bulovas and I 100% believe if he can continue this consistency in the fall and be automatic from inside 40 yards. I mean, once again, Alabama fans are not asking for kickers to make 50-plus yard field goals. If you could do that, that's just icing on the cake. That's just cream in the coffee. That's just more to love. If you can make a 50-plus yard kick consistently, that's just more to love. But what Alabama fans really want is a guy to be automatic within 40 yards. You're automatic within 40 yards. That's a huge plus for the Crimson Tide. And I think Joseph Bulovas gives this program that. When I look at Skylar DeLong, I get it. He's taking over for a legend in J.K. Scott. That's hard to do. But you're not asking for DeLong to be J.K. Scott. You're asking for DeLong to be as close to Scott as he can be, but he doesn't have to be J.K. Scott. And I watched the A-Day game, and DeLong, of his 10 punts, pinned up, he squoze the return guy 6 times, dropping the ball inside for 20, had a long of 46 yards for Team Crimson, a long of 45 yards for Team White. He's going to have some moments where he'll have a punt or two where it takes him a little bit longer to get the ball off, and that just comes with more repetition between DeLong and Alabama's long snapper, whether it's Scott Meyer or Thomas Fletcher. But I think the punting is going to be okay. This is why you hired Jeff Banks from Texas A&M. Once again, 2016, Texas A&M with Jeff Banks was 8th in the country in net punting, averaging 40.7 yards a boot. They were first in the SEC in field goal success rate, 86% made kicks. Jeff Banks knows what he's doing. He's got 2 guys in Bulovas and Skylar DeLong. I'm not worried about it. I'm actually very, very pleased. I think special teams can be a strong suit there. But that's coming from ABH and ABH_68 on Twitter, asking about the specialists. And rounding this off, We have PJ at PTJ13031 on Twitter asking about recruiting. The question, how about recruiting? Seems like Alabama not getting the guys that it's got in the past or that it's been prone to get in years past. Well, PJ, for the 2019 class, the cycle's going pretty well so far. I mean, of the 9 verbal commitments, 8 of them are 4 stars, and it also has a 5-star, an offensive tackle, Pierce Quick, out of Hewitt-Trussville High School. You've got 2 quarterbacks, Paul Tyson, a pro-style guy from Hewitt-Trussville, Talia Tagovailoa, pro-style from Thompson High School in Alabasta. Talia, younger brother of Tua Tagovailoa. And with this class continuing to grow, right now, according to 247sports and Rivals.com, it's got the 4th best class. According to ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports has Bama at number 1 for 2019. But if Alabama keeps growing this class, especially with getting guys from the state, this will be a number 1 class. And I understand the concerns, the pressure of Alabama's got to have a top 5 class. It's got to have a number 1 class. It's got to hit on all of these big names in the cycle. This is the reason why this team got younger on the coaching front with guys like Josh Gaddis and Craig Kulagowski and Dan Enos and Tosh Lapoy and Pete Golding and all of these names, because you got to have the guys that speak the language to the youth of this generation. I get that, but just going back to the 2018 class, and I understand many people are still kind of frustrated, but the reason why it went the way it went, the numbers were low. Alabama only had 20 scholarships to give out, and the main gist is the core of its offense came back. I mean, yes, it lost Calvin Ridley, Robert Foster, and Cam Sims, but Jerry Jeudy, Devonta Smith, Henry Ruggs, Tyro Shavers, Derek Keith, among others, at receiver are all back. You lost Bo Scarborough, but Damian Harris, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, Josh Jacobs, they're all back. You didn't need anything. You brought back all 3 quarterbacks in Hurts, Tagovailoa, and Mac Jones. I mean, you didn't need anything. Defense is where you need it, guys, because 6 defensive backs going to the NFL. You lost Sean Dion Hamilton and Rashawn Evans. You lost Deron Payne and Deshaun Hand. So defensively is where you needed to make some moves. Defensively is where you needed to add some pieces. But I look at this 2019 class, it's getting some of the guys it wants, PJ. It wanted Paul Tyson, got him. It wanted Talia Tagovailoa, got him. It wanted Pierce Quick, got him. I mean, you got Christian Williams, a cornerback from Daphne, Alabama, Daphne High School. You got an athlete in Brandon Turnage. You got an outside linebacker in King Makuta. You got a defensive tackle in Rashad Cheney. And you got an offensive lineman, huge offensive lineman from Kentucky, offensive tackle in Tanner Bowles. So some of the guys you wanted, you've gotten with this class right here. For Alabama, it's all about molding them, getting them in here, having them put that dotted line, having them put the name on the dotted line, that LOI, that letter of intent, and then go from there. Good questions, though. Coming from the legend at Legend Island on Twitter. Questions coming from Greg at Greg_4949. Questions coming from Bama at Amazing Rico, ABH at ABH_68, and PJ at PTJ13031. Smooth segment for Ask Steven. As always, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch the podcast Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, new podcast. And what's crazy? We're trying to get this as consistent as we can, but new podcasts Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays on Twitter, and also on our YouTube site. Subscribe to Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube. Leave comments, like the podcast, leave your thoughts. Always want to get interaction from you in supplying the best in Alabama content. You can also refresh yourself, listen to old podcasts on Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays. And then we're also going to get the SoundCloud coming up so we can get that to the audio waves where SoundCloud is concerned. But Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Touchdown Alabama Magazine for the best in all podcast information. For all of us here at TDAM, enjoy your week, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the draft. Till next time, folks, Stephen M. Smith, in my own words, so long, everybody. It's your boy, Stephen M. Smith, host of In My Own Words, the podcast. If you are a fan of this show, then I encourage you to subscribe to the Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube channel. Also follow the brand on Facebook, Twitter, and other forms of social media as we continue to bring you the best in Alabama football and Crimson Tide athletics.